Hi friends, and welcome back to Shay's Kitchen. We're starting a new series here where I am going to teach my sister Ash, y'all say hi,
Hey.
how to cook. And so she has this little event coming up and she needs to be able to cook Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, and some cabbage. So today I'm going to help her prepare all three items. We've already gotten started. I had to show her how to cut an onion and cut a potato, and so we've already got that sliced up, and praise the Lord we did not lose any extremities. And now we're gonna go ahead and get to work on the ground beef. Our mashed potatoes, or the potatoes themselves, are on the stove boiling. They're almost done, and we've already cut up the onion, which is already in this pretty little bowl here. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in because I don't want the video to be super long. However, if this is your first time joining me, again, my name is Shay. I love to cook, so I really focus on quick and easy meals for working moms here on the channel. I would love for you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified each and every time I upload a video. So let's go ahead and get to cooking. All right, so we have here 3 pounds of ground beef, and I think this is 80-20. So we're just going to use 3 basic seasonings to season this meat. And these are my go-to 3 seasonings of all time, which is just salt, pepper, and garlic powder, or garlic, what is it called? Granulated garlic. Either of those will work, but I have the garlic powder today. So Ash, if you want to start, we're gonna start with the salt. And this is just kosher salt, guys. And I'm not gonna measure, I'm not gonna tell you any measurements because honestly, I think that'd be a little bit too much pressure. And I don't use measurements. You guys know I don't use measurements unless I'm following someone else's recipe, and I'll do it the way they tell me to do it and then taste it, and then if it ain't right, I'm gonna add my own. So let's just go with the salt. Because we have 3 pounds here, I'm going to tell you to do about 2 teaspoons of salt right now. So that ain't it, so keep going. And kosher salt, for you, so that you know, is a little saltier. And this one particular, which is the Morton's, tends to be a little bit more saltier than other off brands.
Okay. Some more?
So just a little bit more.
One more pinch.
Yeah, let me see how much your pinch is. Go ahead. Yeah, that's good for now. Now we're gonna go with the pepper. All right, and we're gonna just shake it. And I will tell you when to stop as far as the pepper is concerned. You can be very heavy on the pepper. I tend to be very heavy on the pepper. I just think it's a cultural thing and the way we grew up. We have to see the pepper, taste the pepper, keep going. And I'm telling you to do this much because we have 3 pounds. So when you cook yours, you may not have 3 pounds, but taking like a mental note, mental picture of how much you're adding, and just cover the surface with that much in yours, okay? So that's good. And now we're gonna do the garlic powder. So are you nervous?
I am very nervous just because I feel like this is a test, an assessment.
It's a test.
It is a test. And so I'm not really sure about doing this on my own, which is why I'm so glad that we're doing a run through now, so it'll still be fresh on my mind for this weekend.
Okay, so that should be good. Okay, so we have, I would say, the first round of seasoning in, because once we mix it together, I'll take a look and we'll see if we need to add any more. Okay. But we are gonna go ahead and dump in the onions.
Okay.
And guys, we chopped up a half of a medium-sized onion, diced
dump it or spread it out?
Just dump it, because you're gonna use your hands, or you can use the fork if you want to. So yeah, now you just want to go in with the fork. And try to leave at least one hand clean in case you do have to add any additional seasoning or anything to this, you'll have a clean hand. And that's just something to always keep in mind when you're cooking. A clean hand will save you because you won't have to stop and wash your hands very often, and you won't be touching the different things that you're using with a dirty hand as well. So without going into too much of her bees' names, when she said she had a test, she got a little friend that has asked for a little meal, and so it might be just a little test just to see, you know, her capability. So we want to make sure that she does really, really well to impress her friend with her cooking ability. So these Salisbury steaks is about to be the bomb.com, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, so there's a lot of meat. I will tell you that you'll need a little bit more. Yeah. And just by looking at the meat, you can tell that there's not enough seasoning, because once you mix it all and incorporate it, if it disappears, that means the taste disappeared too, guys. So I know a lot of you out there, if you aren't like comfortable in the kitchen, you know, you like to say, oh, I need 2 teaspoons of this, or 1 teaspoon, or 1 tablespoon of that. Honestly, you should be able to see the seasoning. Now the salt might mix in, but your pepper, your garlic, like it's gonna change the color of the meat. And that is the way that you can tell that you have enough seasoning. Well, let's go ahead and add a little bit.
Start with the pepper?
It doesn't matter. Okay. You can use either. And garlic powder does tend to be a little bit more flavorful to me than the granulated, but I still am kind of heavy on it because I like to taste it. You know, I like to taste it.
That's good, or more?
That's good. And then we'll just do about the same on the pepper again.
Okay.
And then mix it together, and we should be good on the seasoning. And then we can get to rolling and patting and shaping and molding and all that other good stuff.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so I have pulled out a sheet pan. And the reason I pulled this out is because now you gotta pat them out and lay them out. And for you, I would advise you to do it first. For all you first time cooks, if you're not, excuse me as I fix my britches here. If you're not familiar or comfortable in the kitchen as far as multitasking, doing multiple things very fast and bringing it all together, then it's easier to go ahead, for instance, roll and pat out all your patties first before you move over to the stove and fry them up. So that's what we're gonna do here. You know, typically I would just roll mine up, pat them, and stick them all like on the side of the bowl, whatever, but that's too much. So what you'll need, you want to grab a nice size amount of ground beef. Make sure you just try to get some onions in there.
More?
No, that's good. And they're not gonna be all the same size, so they will vary in size. You might have some that are a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, but just try to kind of keep them around the same size. I would add just a little bit more. Yeah, just a little bit more. So that way they all cook up at the same speed.
Okay.
And especially when you have to put the gravy and stuff on it, you want to simmer them a little bit. You don't want no big ones and no little ones. Okay. So now just pat it flat. And when you're patting, I try to make the middle a little thinner.
Okay.
Because once they start cooking up, if they're all the same size, then they just shrivel up and they're really, really big and they take longer to cook.
Okay.
If you make the middle a little thinner, like a little thinner in the middle section, then once they cook up, the middle kind of like isn't as thick and it cooks up evenly. I would pat that out just a little bit more because remember, they're gonna shrink up. Okay. And so if you start with a small one, you're just gonna end up with a tiny fat meatball instead of a round pack. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and finish patting these all up. We're not gonna do this on camera because we have a lot of meat, because we have a lot of people in the family that's about to eat this right here. But we'll be back right when we're finished. Okay, so we have switched over to the stove. And so I have a 12-inch skillet. Ash, if he has a cast iron skillet, that's great. If not, you can use any skillet, but we have a 12-inch because we need to put about 4 in the pan. Otherwise, on a 10-inch, you could probably do 4, but they need to be just a little bit smaller than that. So we're just gonna drizzle some olive oil. We're gonna keep it simple. A little bit more. We're just trying to basically coat the bottom of the pan. A little bit more. Okay. And set this aside and then lift up on the handle and just coat the bottom of the pan. It's too hot?
Of course.
Oh Lord. She's got these tender hands, guys. And you see the smoke? That's what you're looking for because we're wanting a really good sear. So now we're going to put 4 patties spread out evenly on the skillet. And sorry guys, the kids are in the background and so is the husband. If you hear a little bit of noise, it's because we just can't keep everybody quiet in the house because we've got a lot of people in the house. And it's okay, just deal with it. Okay. All right. And so what we're gonna do is let this cook until they're a nice crisp brown on one side, and then we're gonna turn it over. Not necessarily all the way done because we still have to simmer them in the gravy.
Okay.
And then while this is frying up, we're gonna do a little multitasking. We're about to do these mashed potatoes. We have some red potatoes here that we have already cut up again and boiled up, and they are fork tender. And that's how you know you stick a fork in. If it comes out or if it goes into the potato really easy, you know your potatoes are done, they're drained, and they're still hot. That's most important. Work with your potatoes when they are hot. So, a few things you'll need. You need a mashed potato masher, and so we're simply just gonna go in. Just go to town smashing. And I like a thicker, creamy mashed potato, not like thin. So you don't have to just mash these until they're just, yeah, it doesn't take much because as you mix it, they're gonna go down some more, they're gonna get creamy. And the reason why, and we have the skin on these potatoes. One, because her knife handling skills they're okay. We just didn't have time to peel that many potatoes. So your red potatoes or your Yukon Gold potatoes, they have a really thin peeling on the outside. So as long as you wash those up good, then you can cut those up and just boil them and put everything in one pot. So you don't even have to worry about peeling those. Okay, so once they are about like this, now you want to go ahead and add your butter. Now guys, I will go ahead and warn you, this is, what do they call it? Starts with a D, what's the word? Come on y'all, help me out. Disclaimer, this is the disclaimer. I like butter in my mashed potatoes, not a little bit of butter, a lot of butter. Okay, so we ain't counting calories today, we just making food taste good. So we are going to use 3/4 of this cup of butter. 3/4 of a stick. Okay, so literally we're gonna cut right there.
Right here.
Yeah, we're gonna cut right there. Okay, so if you guys hear a little bit of cutting in the background, that is because Mom is gonna be walking us through making the cabbage portion of this, and she does not want to be on the camera. She's still a little bit camera shy, but she's prepping in the background. But if you hear a little cutting going on, that is what's going on in the background. So now you just want to mash that in, mash it in. So once you've mashed them to this consistency, they're really thick. They're really thick, and the butter has been fully incorporated. Now what we need to do is just thin out the potatoes and season the potatoes, okay? It will take a lot of salt, okay? Because for whatever reason, potatoes, it can vary depending on how much salt, just depends on the potato. But what I don't like to do and I don't recommend is salting the water first, because you still have to add more salt, and that's just like double the amount of salt, and you don't need all that. So we're gonna switch to either a metal spoon or a wooden spoon so that we can stir well. So we're gonna start off with the milk. We need it to get it to the consistency that it needs to be before we start, you know, seasoning.
Okay.
So this is just a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. I like to use evaporated milk. You can definitely use whole milk, skim milk, 2% milk, heavy cream. This is a nice medium for me. You know, it's whole milk. You don't have, you can keep it in the pantry. You have it all the time, and it makes up for a really creamy and like a different taste, not heavy creamy. So go ahead and add. I would say add about 1/4 of a cup to begin with. That's good. You can always add, but you can't take away.
Okay.
So go ahead and stir that. And as you can see, it does not take a lot for it to start thinning out. I have made the mistake of adding too much, and then it is super thin and soupy. And while she is mixing this, I'm going to quickly just check on the burgers, because we do have to do those in batches, and make sure that they don't need to be flipped. So what do you think? I would think I would add just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing also to keep in mind, as they sit, they will thicken up as well.
Okay.
So if you want to make them, if you like making it ahead of time and you're not gonna be eating them like as soon as you prepare it and put it together, you might want to make them just a little bit looser than you would want them when it's time to eat, because they will thicken up as they sit. So are you feeling a little bit like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's work. I
it's
mean,
definitely a process.
it's a lot of work to cook.
It is.
So I completely understand for those that just don't like it. I get it, but it's worth it when you sit down and you're like, oh, I made this and it's so good, and somebody else is eating it and they're smacking them like, oh my gosh, I love it. Can I get another meal? You're gonna feel real special. I would go ahead and start seasoning with my salt.
Okay, so just pinch it.
Yes, a heavy pinch.
A heavy pinch.
Yeah, another heavy pinch. Okay, and now we're gonna add a little bit of parsley. This is just gonna give it some color so that you can serve pretty mashed potatoes.
Okay, that's enough.
No. Yeah, keep going. Okay, that's good. Now, remember to go heavy.
On the pepper.
Heavy on the pepper. Yes, be forceful. Forceful with it. All right, that's good. And then we can be a little forceful with the garlic too. And I'll tell you when to stop. Yeah, that's good. So this is what it looks like before. This is after adding the milk and before stirring it with the seasonings. Now here's the key to a good mashed potato, guys. I got a good old spoon right here. You gotta taste the mashed potatoes, okay? Don't just put it in there and like, oh, I think I added enough. Taste it and see. Taste it and see. You can get a new spoon, you can taste again, but you gotta taste your food before you serve it. How else will you know if your stuff is right? So you taste it and tell me if you want to add a little bit more of anything to it. Then I'll taste it and see what
I think it could use a little bit more salt.
okay. Let's see if she's right. Can already tell me it's a little bit more milk, because it's good and thick. It's fine. I'll eat it this way, but just to thin it out just a little bit more. I would not actually add any more salt to that.
More salt. Okay.
I would just thin it out, and I think those are perfect. All right, so all of the patties have been fried up. They're not all completely done. They definitely still have some more cooking to do. So what you're left here are these goodies in the bottom of the skillet. So you're gonna make a roux. And what I mean by roux is you need a flour and oil mixture. So if you have 3 tablespoons of oil, that means you need 3 tablespoons of flour. So what I suggest, since there is more than 3 tablespoons of oil in here, go ahead, ooh, that's hot. Go ahead and measure out 3 tablespoons of oil. And you can, I mean, you can do a little bit more than 3 tablespoons. You don't have to be like super exact like that, but that's the goal. And so we're gonna just dump the remaining oil here. We're not getting rid of anything else, just the oil, and then we'll be back to make the roux. So we have dumped the remaining oil that we have here. We've put the 3 tablespoons that we've measured out back in, and now we're gonna add 3 tablespoons, that's good, of just all-purpose flour. It really doesn't matter if it's all-purpose or self-rising, but we're using all-purpose today. What you need to do, again, we're going to use all that little bits in the back on the we're going to use all of the bits in the bottom of the pan, but now you just want to literally cook the flour. So just whisk it around, make sure you get it in the oil, and just whisk it, whisk it, whisk it. And the good thing about reserving the oil, if you need additional oil, then you have it to add it. So just keep whisking it around. And the bits at the bottom, we are going to deglaze that with some beef broth. And this is what's actually going to give it some color. So you do want to cook this, I would probably say about 1.5 to 2 minutes, just so that you don't have a flour taste to it, okay? And it'll also, again, give it a really good color. Now the other thing to keep in mind is you have to control the temperature when you're cooking. As you can see, nothing really got burned or over like a dark brown color. If you burn your meat, then your roux, the drippings in the bottom will taste like burnt up meat, okay? So you do want to make sure you control your temperature when you're cooking. So it's cooked, and now what you want to do is use your beef broth, and this is low sodium. I do recommend getting the low sodium because you don't want to add too much salt. You can always add, but you can't just pour. You're gonna use it all, so just pour the whole can and continue to whisk as you pour, because you want to make sure it doesn't get lumpy. It's going to start getting lumpy as you cook it, especially if you're cooking it on high. You have to pay attention to that as well. And just keep on whisking and whisking and whisking and whisking. Now we do have some hot water over there. That is if we need any additional liquid to thin it out. Okay. Then you'll have hot water, not cold water, that will change the temperature of your mixture here. Okay. All right, so as you can see, it has thickened up, and it's going to actually get a little bit thicker than this. And we have quite a bit of patties here, so I would say go ahead and add some water to thin that out some. And I know this because I've done it enough, but I know this is going to be thicker. It's going to get really thick and lumpy if you don't go ahead and start adding. So just add about 1/4 cup of that. That's good. And incorporate that really, really well. Add a little bit more. And guys, I know this is really tough and it's hard to explain. You have a lot of flour here that's going to continue to thicken as it cooks. So you want to get it to the point where you know it's going to be thin enough so that if it continues to cook, it won't be lumpy gravy, essentially. And you can just pay attention to the consistency that you have. You know, once you start seeing those really thick bubbles in the middle, you know, hey, I need to add a little bit more of something to thin this out. So we have tasted it. There's enough salt and enough pepper in it. And the consistency is right. So now what we're gonna do is we just have to add our patties back in and turn it down a little bit and let it simmer so that the flavors that are still in the patties can mesh in with this gravy. So Ash, let's go ahead and add those back in. And then we're gonna move out the way. We're gonna switch eyes and then let Mom come over and help us make these cabbage so that we can eat, because the girl is hungry. Little Anderson is ready to eat, y'all. Now what I like to do is flip them over after you fill the skillet all the way so that the gravy gets on both sides. So just quickly flip those over and then we can add the extra two that are still on a plate. Okay, so Mom's taking over and she is going to show and share how to make the sauteed cabbage with sausage in it.
Okay, what we're going to do first, we've already melted 3/4 of a stick of butter into this saucepan. Now we're going to add the sausages to brown them. So add your sausages.
Just lay them in there or just throw them in there?
No particular fashion, just
Like that?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, now you want to even these out, place them pretty evenly in the pan.
So she is just spacing the sausages that are cut up out evenly on the pan. And you want to just brown them, right? Just sauteing them on both sides at this point. So they're gonna just cook just like this until they are a little brown, and Mom says until they render some of the fat. So they're gonna just chill for maybe like 2 minutes or so. So Mom says after they've cooked about 2 minutes, just give them a stir. She said we're not actually waiting for them to brown. They're just trying to fuse some of the seasoning into the butter. So the seasoning of the sausage needs to fuse with the seasoning of the butter, and we are not removing the meat from the pan. So this is technically a one-pot meal since we have all this good meat in this pot along with the cabbages that are going to go in later.
Once your sausages have begun to brown and render some of the fat and juices, we're going to go ahead and start adding our vegetables. So as you can see right here, I've taken the green leaves from the cabbage and put a fine chop on them because they'll need to cook a little longer than the white part of the cabbage. So here we have the shredded green leaves from the cabbage, and we have half of a white onion, and we have 2 cloves of garlic that I've already put a fine chop on. So we're going to add that at this time.
So just pour it in?
Yes, all of it.
Guys, I wish I could put Mom on the camera, but she says she does not have her her makeup isn't on and she's not willing to get on the camera. So you just get hands and pots right now, unfortunately, because that's all I can give you.
Incorporate that very well.
So Mom is saying you need to do a full incorporation. So stir it really, really well. Make sure all of the fat and the grease and the it's grease, y'all. Fat, grease, and all that there. We're just giving it a really good, let me just see if I can come around here. Just giving it a really good stir and coating it very, very well. Very, very well. It's really, really pretty, isn't it, guys?
I'm going to let that steep for like 5 minutes.
So do you season it at this point, or you wait until you add
wait.
the other cabbage? Okay.
And you see, as you'll notice, your green leaves are turning darker. And that just means they're cooking, and that's what you want to see. So food should not only taste good, it should look good also. Now right here, we're going to add some red pepper, crushed red pepper flakes.
Crushed red pepper flakes. Okay. Do we go heavy on this or light or?
No, the kids are having to eat some of this tonight, so give me a couple of dashes.
Like that or some more? No,
This is considered
a dash.
a dash.
Okay.
That should be plain.
Mom has control issues. She won't let her make it by herself.
So stir it.
Stir. Incorporate the
She
red
keep
pepper.
trying to do the dish. Ashley's not gonna be able to recreate this if she do everything for her. This is why we are in this situation now. Cause Mom, she just cooked it.
At this point, we want to add the remainder of the cabbage along with some shredded carrots.
Okay.
And the carrots are really just here for color.
How many carrots did you shred?
That's 2.
Okay.
So do I just pour it all in there, or
Yes,
do I
we're going to just put,
pick up a little
Just
bit at a
dump it.
time, or just dump it all at one time?
You can just
incorporate
dump
a
it.
little bit at a time. But you want to take one, again, you use both hands. So if you want to pick this up with your left hand. And with your right hand, you want to, right, there you go.
All of it, or just a little bit at
All
a
of it.
time? Okay.
You have a big enough pot pan
I'm
there
sorry, guys. I wasn't.
for all of it. Be careful, go from the bottom up.
So she's folding the bottom into the
But you
new
want-
cabbage.
To keep from flipping it all out, you want to go down and then up with the turn. There you go.
Okay, so she has literally touched all of the cabbage at this point. It has all been folded and fully incorporated. So what's the next step, Mom?
Now we want to season this. You'll notice the vegetables have turned a little darker and there's a little glaze on them from the butter and the fat rendered from the sausages. So now what we're going to use is just Morton. We have Morton seasoned salt. I don't particularly use Lawry's because it's a little more saltier to me. But a Morton seasoned salt has
So
just the right amount of salt. So yeah, so let's get a generous sprinkle of seasoning salt on it.
That's good for now, right?
Is that good?
For
That's
now,
good.
until you taste it.
And now we're gonna add
Pepper? Black pepper?
black pepper.
Heavy on the pepper, right?
Always.
This family has always been heavy on the black pepper.
Okay, now let's incorporate that.
And so she's just going to flip this again and let it cook a little longer before we taste it and add additional seasoning if needed. Now we're just gonna cover it and let this cook for probably about 3 minutes or so. So here's the final product. And now we can eat, guys. We can eat. All right, guys, so dinner is completely done. Let's give a round of applause. The sister girl here, she threw down, guys. We have our Salisbury steaks, we have our cabbage, and we have our sweet potatoes, and everything here is from scratch, honey. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I definitely enjoyed doing this. I can't wait to do it again. This is likely gonna be another series on the channel, guys, as I get her to cook more things here. But if you like this, definitely give us a thumbs up and go ahead and like, share, and subscribe as well. Make sure you have that notification bell click so you will know when I upload new videos. So leave your comments down below. Go ahead, let us know what you think she needs to cook the next time. We'll definitely hit you up in the comments and see if that's gonna be a good idea or a bad idea. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Until the next time, we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.